On the evening of March 13th, 1997, hundreds of people witnessed mysterious formations of lights over Arizona. Witnesses described two separate things on that night. One was a V-shaped craft with a series of lights underneath, while the other was a massive cluster of glowing orbs. Both moved silently through the night sky. These two sightings would become known as the Phoenix Lights. The story begins in Henderson, Nevada that night, when at 6:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, a witness reported seeing a large V-shaped object traveling southeast. At 8:16 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, in Paulden, Arizona, an unidentified former police officer reported seeing a cluster of red-orange lights arranged in a V formation. The lights were then seen over the Prescott Valley a short time later, as they continued southeast. Tim Lee, his wife Bobby, and their son Hal were in the Prescott Valley at that time. Years later, they gave an interview describing what they'd seen that night.
My name is Tim Lee. This is my wife, Bobby, and my son, Hal. Back in March 13th of 1997, we were witnesses to seeing a UFO, an actual craft, fly directly over our house. Hal was sitting in the front, and as I came around to the side of the door, he looked out the side window, and he saw up in the direction of Prescott 5 distinct lights that it actually looked like they were on top of a balloon. As we were looking at them, I said, well, what is that? Is that a balloon with lights on it? Why would they have lights on a balloon like that? And, the lights were so clear and distinct, and they were very close together. But as we watched them, then we could see that whatever this was coming towards us because the distance between the lights started getting greater and greater.
As it drew closer, Tim Lee described that the object assumed a V formation, much like the reports received earlier.
As we were standing there watching it, after a few minutes, maybe 6 or 8 minutes, I'm not sure, all of a sudden, instead of being 5 lights in a round arc shape, that lead light seemed to come out in the front, and now it looked like a V formation flying towards us. I remember talking with Bobby as we were watching it. We were saying, what could that possibly be? And I said, well, maybe it's a formation of helicopters. And then I'm looking at the lights, and as they're getting further and further apart, the relationship between the lights never changed. They got further apart, but the individual distance between the lights always remained, so to speak, in the same relationship. They were perfectly even. They didn't move up or down, and I'm saying, wow, if this is a formation of aircraft, who's ever flying this, I don't know how they're staying so tight in formation.
As it passed over the family, they observed a strange distortion in the area between its two arms, as well as a strange quality to the light it emitted.
The kids out in the middle of the street said, hey, look up inside, in between the two arms. And looking at the stars inside, they looked like some kind of distortion, not a heat distortion. It just did not look as clear as the stars on the outside. He's actually out in the street running after this thing. That's how slow it was going. The kids thought it was going about 10 or 15 miles an hour. And this last light came down, and Bobby and I were just standing there, and it went right over us, and it looked like this big circular hole of pure white light. It looked like beyond fluorescent, almost like little particles of light, and the light was stuck up inside. It was almost like it was being held inside. There was no glass on it, and there was no light that I noticed around us on the ground, but it was really, really, really bright. Then the tail end of this thing went by like that, and I saw very absolute sharp-edged went by, and as it did, the stars unfolded after it.
This object was unlike anything Tim Lee had ever seen. He was left dumbfounded. What he'd seen was beyond comprehension.
When I saw this technology, I know there's nothing on this planet like that. There's no capacity to fly a craft. It wasn't even flying. How could something be lifted by air, going that slow? Not possible. Not possible whatsoever. This thing was not flying. It was cruising with some kind of ability, I don't know. It was absolutely perfect, under control, powerful, smooth, quiet. And I looked at that and I said, boy, I said to my wife, I said, whoever's got this technology is in cahoots with God.
At around 10 p.m. that same night, residents of Phoenix witnessed a second phenomenon, a massive cluster of glowing orbs. Some of them were able to capture this on video. Among the best footage was captured by Mike Kristen.
The time is about 10 o'clock, Sue? Yes.
10 o'clock, March 13th, Thursday night.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Look at that. And they all went on in a sequence, too. Now, the thing that puzzles me is they can't be ordinary streetlights. They're going off now, right?
Yeah.
One
went
dropped.
off.
The thing that's amazing is that it must be so bright that they would carry, because we're looking at about 25 miles away. The middle one now.
There one. Oh,
The two,
another one.
there's another one.
Yep,
last
there
one?
was one.
We got the last one left. Still burning.
And usually we've seen them over.
It's gone.
Oh, there it comes.
On the 25th anniversary of the Phoenix Lights, Mike Christen was interviewed.
It's been on all the major networks. It's been around the world. I've had production companies come from Japan, as far as Japan.
But even the man behind this compelling footage is still not convinced what happened that night. He says we may never truly know.
Some people believe it's a UFO, some people believe it's military. I don't know what it was. It was orange lights to me.
Ryan Fish, KGUN 9, on your side.
The public was understandably shaken and seeking answers. Luckily, the governor of Arizona at the time, and current owner of America's Silliest Name, Fife Symington, was there to comfort them.
At the news conference, which was broadcast live on 3 TV, the governor said the DPS had staked out a house near the Capitol and made an arrest.
That I believe it a serious offense for anyone, human, space alien, or otherwise, to engage in mysterious activity in our nighttime skies. That is why I will personally ask that the perpetrator be prosecuted to the fullest for the havoc wrought on our entire community. And now I'll ask Officer Stein and his colleagues to escort the accused into the room so that we may all look upon the guilty party. Don't get him too close to me, please. You know. Now, this just goes to show that you guys are entirely too serious.
Under the mask, Symington Chief of Staff Jay Heiler.
Despite his dismissal at the time, Fife Symington would give an interview years later and admit that his mind was blown by what he'd seen that night. He said that he himself believed that what he'd seen was extraterrestrial technology. It seems that the 1997 press conference was an attempt to pacify the public.
I snuck out to see it, without DPS, which I'm not supposed to be driving my own car and that kind of thing. And so, but I told Ann what I was doing. I was going to go up to Squaw Peak and see what everybody was, clamoring about. And when I walked in the front door, she looked at me, and I was apparently normally I'm fair complected and pale anyway, right? And she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, "she looked like a ghost. What did you see?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what I saw, but it was really something, and I'm not going to talk about it."
Something, though, that you think our own government may have been kind of running by a populated area to see what would happen?
I don't think so. I think this was technologically far advanced. Can you imagine if you took Christopher Columbus and put him in the cockpit of a Boeing 777, what his reaction would be? He wouldn't understand it. He would be convinced that this is something from another world. I believe that. But I've always been open to that. We're not alone in the universe.
I agree with you.
We're going to find that out one way or the other.